Hi, Mr. President. My name is Gabby Laurie. I'm with UMTV. Student leaders here have a fierce appetite to spark change, but what of young people who don't seem to carry that same fire? Is it in there somewhere, and if so, how can it be ignited?
Yeah, I think it's in there. I think that it can be ignited, first of all, by making it more fun. Secondly, by making it more accessible. And by making it more understandable. And by making it the thing to do. You know, one of the reasons that I do this, both this and the CGI at the opening of the UN in New York, is to create an international network that becomes a sort of self-sustaining, where people support each other and help each other to do this. And we lift the visibility of these kinds of things so that everybody feels they can participate. You have to realize, if I could sort of step back from the specifics a minute, there has always been, ever since the advent of social consciousness, that is the idea that we have responsibilities to each other if we occupy the same space, whatever that space is. It could even be a virtual space on the internet, and we're all part of the same group. There's been this idea that we have common responsibilities for the common welfare. Okay, once you accept that, there is always a gap between what the private sector can produce and the government can provide. It is in that gap, the things that we think should be done that aren't, that non-governmental groups operate. One of the most hopeful things about the new century is, beginning in the 1990s, there was an explosion of non-governmental activity, including on college campuses. It accelerated as it became fueled by the internet, because it became possible for people with a little bit of money to make a huge difference if enough people agreed with them, just like you see in political giving. So America, before the economic downturn, had more than 1 million foundations. India had more than 500,000, and way over 1 million were operating there because of the non-Indian foundations that went there. Haiti, at its apex, had 10,000. Probably the largest per capita in the world, except for India. But as President Shalala pointed out at lunch today, they were disorganized. And what we're trying to do is get everybody to follow one common plan and to be part of it. So what I would say to people who don't do this is, one, do you believe that your future depends upon how well your community does, whatever your community is? Miami, the state of Florida, the United States, this part of the world, fighting climate change. If the answer is yes, then do you believe there is a gap between what the private sector will produce and the government can provide? If the answer is yes, then you say, okay, here is a way you can step into it and make a difference. That's the way to get everybody involved. You have to get people to think about this in terms of how their life's going to unfold.
Mr. President, my name is Danielle Alvarez from UMTV. Your commitment to Haiti is unquestionable, but what is your response to those individuals who are not optimistic about the rebuilding of Haiti and think that no matter the commitment or the money sent, that the aid will be mishandled and not fulfill its potential?
The future of all of its neighbors, including the United States, and especially those in the Caribbean and Central America, are going to be affected by Haiti. If Haiti continues in a state of economic, political, and social collapse, one thing, we know one thing for sure. If you like the gunfighting that's going on in northwest Mexico, you will love Haiti 10 years from now. If that really thrills you, this horrible chaos from Monterey to the border, you will just love Haiti if you walk away from it. I mean, that's the first thing I want to say. Now, in a more affirmative way, I want to say, it may be that people like me are crazy, but I've been going down there for 35 years. I have no illusions. I have made my own mistakes in dealing with Haiti. as everybody has who's taken any responsibility for it. But I'm just telling you, I believe with all my heart. Look, I'm 63 years old. You think I'd commit the next 5 years of my life to working down there if I thought it was a losing enterprise? After I had a quadruple bypass and then I had to go back and have 2 stents put in, do you really think I'd do that? That's all I can tell you. That's all. I don't think I have become any dumber as I have gotten older. I wouldn't, as much as I love them, if I thought it was a dead-end street, I wouldn't do it. I'm doing this because I believe they have the best chance in my lifetime to build a self-sustaining modern state. I'm doing this because I know how smart they are and how good they are, and I've seen how well the Haitians do when they come to the United States. They have been misgoverned. They have been abused and neglected from without and abused and neglected from within. And they have been also hurt by people who, with the best of intentions, tried to help them in ways that were designed not to make them independent, but to sustain their dependency. All that is changed now. Everybody I know that ever made a mistake dealing with Haiti, starting with me, is aware of it now. That doesn't mean we won't make any new mistakes going forward, but at least we're going to make new mistakes, which is somehow the all you can hope for in life. I may be totally wrong. I think we can make it. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is, as I said earlier today, corruption by and large follows incapacity. Now, there's some corruption in every society on earth, right? You know, the occasional criminal. But if you look at places where corruption is rampant, it normally accompanies incapacity, where things don't work anyway, so you might as well grab what you can and run. There are systems that contradict that. We had terrible corruption in rural Indonesia when we did the tsunami in Aceh. You look at the historical. You know what we did? First, we had independent auditors for how the money got to where it was lodged in Indonesia and how it was spent. Then we, just to follow the money trail. Then once it reached the end point, we had performance audits. Once the money was at the end point, to make sure that, nobody spent 3 times what they should have done to do whatever it was they were doing. But the most important thing we had was total transparency. We set up a simple computer program with the unusual acronym of DAD, in which we recorded all the money that came for reconstruction and relief from public and from every NGO source that would do it. Who sent it on what date, how much, what it was committed for, what percentage of the total commitment it represented, and then as the money was released, we recorded it every day where it went. This computer program was updated either once a week or once every 2 weeks. People like you there poured over it. And believe it or not, they found out when we messed up every now and then. But there was so little of it, and people were so terrified because the press was looking at it and the NGO public interest groups were looking at it, that it turned out to be the most transparent and corruption-free operation ever run there. And there was a bunch of money. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in our version of that for you. And that's my last. I plead with you, don't get bored with this. Follow this. Hold us all accountable. Chase this money. And if you do it and the Haitians do it, we're going to be just fine.
Nina Ruggiero from the Miami Hurricane. Mr. President, based on the 2 previous CGIUs, what lasting effects do you expect hosting this event here at will have on the university?
Well, I think what I hope will happen, especially since you produced 257 commitments, is that you'll have a higher percentage of students permanently engaged in student service, and that I hope more of the service projects will be self-generated. That is, you'll create more NGOs on your own. You'll have more solutions to problems on your own. So that it won't be just, and I don't want to diminish this, this is important. Dealing with problems in the community is important. But I think the idea that there's so many of these student projects coming up with, like you talked about, your solution to clean water half a world away, I think that's a profoundly educational thing to do. So I hope you'll have more people involved in a more creative way over a longer period.